What can I say? Sometimes it's easier that way. And what can I do?
I think the only Star Wars movie I've seen 4, 5, and 6, and I think I've one and maybe half of 2. I haven't seen the third Star Wars movie or any of the sequel trilogies except for
what I've shown you.
Yeah, the absolutely dreadfully bad fight scenes, which is a nice segue into this discussion.
Yes,
masterfully done.
Yes, I'm Ian.
Neil?
I'm not doing it. I'm never going to do it now.
You never do that, Devin. Do you introduce yourself, Caleb?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have to hold your hand. I, Josh, don't have to hold your hand.
I like hand holding.
That's sweet.
And especially when we skip.
If we're hand holding and not skipping,
Then what are you even doing?
what's the point?
Yeah. There's got to be some like peppy 70s music playing.
Speaking of peppy music, our theme song was provided by Brandy Robinson. It's What Can I Say off her album Beautiful Graffiti.
Support her on Bandcamp. I think she had a YouTube.
Yes, YouTube. Brandy Robinson music on YouTube.
The point is, she lets us use this music for free. Pay her money.
Yeah. So we don't have to.
Ha
Well, I already actually did.
Well, what if I start paying her money to support her? Doesn't that technically mean we're paying her money to use it?
In a weird sense, I suppose.
We're very middlemanish.
But that would require somebody to actually watch this channel. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we haven't done one of these in forever, and you at home have not actually seen Caleb. You've heard him if you've watched, have had a chance, our Final Fantasy playthroughs, but you haven't actually seen him. There he is.
Hello.
He's my friend.
Yes.
I'm everybody's friend.
He's a teddy.
but isn't the real friends the friends we made along the way?
Isn't the real cliche the one they just said?
Look, I do. Yeah, I want my fucking treasure.
Treasure.
It's like
Oh,
the
yes.
real treasure. That's
Yes,
like,
yes.
no, he wants treasure. No, the real treasure is treasure. That's why it's called treasure. Anyway,
I had these friends before this fucking journey. Where's my fucking treasure?
I like being friends and all, but I still want paid.
I'm going to be honest with you. I fully expected you all to die by the end of this.
Okay. Well, as long as some of these discussions go.
Speaking of, let's actually get onto the subject, which was
one of my ideas, and this is actually something that Devin had sparked when he showed me an absolutely dreadful fight scene.
I'm throwing up in my mouth, but yeah.
But yeah, so discuss what does and doesn't work in like action set pieces and big like fight scenes and action sets, things like that. And the one that sparked this, well, I'll just start with, is in which Star Wars?
8.
Star Wars 8. There's a scene where Kylo Ren and
Rey
are fighting in a throne room.
They're fighting royal guards.
And it is literally one of the worst fight scenes I've ever seen.
And it really pisses me off because my favorite scene in all of Star Wars I've waited all my life to see happens during that fight scene. But that fight scene ruined it for me.
Which was?
Some bitch turning the ship around, the bigger ship, and just
hyperdriving
through it. And I was like, fuck yes! I waited 25 years for that.
That was actually amazing. I have my own rant about that, about how it shouldn't have been Holdo. You should have used Akbar instead of killing him off on.
That would have been even cooler. It's a trap, bitch.
It should have been Admiral Akbar doing
it. Was a trap.
Yeah, it should have been Admiral Akbar actually doing it. You actually get the, what is this? What are you doing? It's a trap.
That would have been amazing. Oh my fucking god.
What a way for him to go out, you know? Instead they had the bridge blow up and the only one survived was Super Leia and...
Super Leia.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What a way to make my favorite space fish commander look like nothing.
Doesn't he only have like 2 scenes?
Yeah, in that one, and in Return of the Jedi, he was
It's a
the
trap.
commander.
I mean, he was in Rogue One.
Yeah. They
So.
showed more love to him in the other movies, but now they had him go out like a little pony. Anyway,
That would have been amazing. It's a trap.
But anyway, this is still technically on top. They were
I'm
talking-
pretty sure all three of us that tried to drink water just dropped our caps.
I did.
Mine's cap's already off.
At least I know me and Josh did. I know Devin took a drink of water,
I did take a water, but I didn't drop my cap.
but I dropped my cap and caught it like this, and Josh just stumbled with his. And it's like, do we all
I
just
don't
drop caps?
remember dropping my cap. Maybe I can we'll
I have
review it.
no clue.
Review it.
Folks at home, comment if Devin drops his cap.
I have terrible memory, and it's that bad.
But sorry. I was gonna say one of the big things I remember with that was the way people just bounced off each other. And I always talk about this and this problem with a lot of these big CGI fight scenes is nothing has any weight. So like they attack and just like stop and return. Whereas if you look at something like the John Wick series,
I'm pretty sure Keanu Reeves actually punched on those bitches.
I'm sure they did sport punches where they probably connected. They like weren't breaking ribs, but they were. But you know, when he hits somebody, not only do they react, he reacts. You know, when you hit somebody, you are striking something semi-solid. Your body reacts backwards. But with like a lot of these CG things, you don't. I think enough like the cartoons of like Justice League and Avengers look so much more realistic than that one fight scene. Honestly, the huge thing is just to complain about this, how bad this one fight scene is. 'Cause it is
There's one fight scene that happened like
There's
years
a
ago
part
now.
where Ray kicks one dude and 3 people fall over.
well,
She used her force powers.
She
Come
didn't
on.
use any force powers. She barely used any force powers in the whole fucking trilogy.
well,
What are you talking about? She's spark electricity. dude.
Force
Oh,
powers
yeah.
look like this. They don't look like this.
I don't see why you couldn't use the force power.
It would be
There's like a
cool.
part,
There was no
No.
indication of that though.
there's
Usually
a part
have
where like
indications.
Ray is standing there and this dude attacks her and he just whiffs over the top of her head with this sword thing and I'm like that.
There's a lot of bad action scenes where people aren't actually aiming for, like, you can
That
obviously
was
tell
so-
nobody's aiming for the person, they're aiming for their sword,
Yeah.
or they're aiming to miss, and you can tell.
But-
And I think that leads to one of the main things that these fight scenes really need, and that's
I was
people with
told-
experience.
Yeah.
Whoa. I was told Jedi would be jumping around and dodging crap, so I
Yeah.
intentionally didn't aim for her because I thought she'd get out of the way and I hit her when she tried to get out of the way.
That's not how people work. Oh gosh.
Do you see though that actually if you did something like that, that would actually be something you could set into a scene where
If they had ever
somebody,
seen Ray jump like that, it would
somebody
make sense.
attacks and the individual dodges and somebody was prepared with a secondary attack for their dodge, but this guy just kind of goes woof right over her head.
And not to mention a lot of the Royal Guards in that scene turns their backs to their enemies.
They just kind of like dance, and it's kind of an
That's
issue.
covered by so many people about the twirling around stuff.
That it's
It
kind of
looks flashy on camera. It's terrible to do.
It's actually something very hard to do is have multiple versus few in a fight. You have to be very good choreographer to do it, or else you have like 12 people standing in the back holding their wangs just waiting for their turn to attack.
It's like, I'm gonna be the
Let's take
ninja.
them one at a time so they can beat us.
Yeah, I kind of
exactly.
It's my turn to be the ninja.
Was it?
The Witcher.
Oh, The Witcher.
I've only
did.
seen the first episode of The Witcher.
I like The
this-
Witcher.
The scene where he goes after that one girl.
Oh no, yeah,
in
yeah,
the first
yeah.
episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Witcher.
okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And then
Like,
holds the
there's
sword.
multiple people were actually actively attacking him, and he wasn't being flashy about it.
And I understand.
There's a couple flashy
And I understand,
parts,
like, if there's 3 people on top of this guy, there's not room for you to attack. But
and a crossbow guy firing at you.
yeah,
I've heard that most people's complaint about that is he holds his sword upside down.
yeah, that reverse grip bothered me because it's just impractical for
Yeah.
the type of sword he's using.
Yeah.
If
I
it was
agree,
if
but
it was
I
a
mean-
shorter sword, it would.
Well, what
but-
if you have super strength?
And
Yeah, that kind of counters
he
it.
has
but-
mutations, but it's just the point is like it's for
The-
that sword he's using. When you
Imagine-
try to fight somebody,
The-
you're not trying to limit yourself.
Yeah.
You're not trying to underestimate them and then limit yourself for no real reason.
But super strength and all, but imagine how much more he'd be able to do with that super strength and holding the damn sword like an actual person.
But in that scene's defense, and my wife brought this up, his reverse grip, the way he does it looks kind of cool. So
It looks badass. It looks badass.
It seems amazing.
It's amazing.
I can accept deviations from reality if it looks good.
Henry Cavill's great.
Honestly, it's
Henry Cavill's
fantasy. That seems more fantasy-esque.
Yeah. Well,
That
Witcher in
scene,
general,
the
yeah.
scene looks really good, and the guys who are in the background waiting, I didn't notice a single one of them just standing there. They all looked like they were waiting to take their shot.
Yeah.
And that
They didn't
big,
want to hit their friends.
yeah, in that big fight scene with the throne room fight scene, all the royal guards, they're just like twirling. Like, you guys are just wearing yourself out for this fight. You know, don't stand there and like prep an attack.
How did you feel about the one multi-person scene out of Kill Bill?
That is just amazing.
Wait, then the one in the Japanese restaurant?
One with the crazy 88s.
Yeah. I like that scene.
That
That's
was
cool.
a good scene too.
That had that scene.
There was no one standing around. Like, she was completely surrounded, and every time someone died, someone else came in.
Yeah, exactly.
They were just waiting to get in at her. They had to stay around.
Plus, I had a
do
great.
really like the part where she looks at the to see people behind her. She looks at the reflection of her sword. That's badass. I was like, that's pretty cool. I don't think by that time her sword would have been that mirror polished still, but it was
Yeah,
cool.
but wasn't her sword like that? Was a legendary
Yeah, it was
sword? So
Hanzo Hasashi's sword.
I can't
So it was
remember
like
names.
unbreakable.
fuck it,
It
was
was
a
the
magic
best
sword.
made sword ever.
Magic
It basically
sword,
had
fuck it.
like spirit powers.
I can't remember your names.
Yeah, that's what I
I
was.
think it's Hanzo. Well, that
Hanzo
also
is
might
a-
be the
Hanzo
name.
would be a ninja.
He would have
he would've-
Grandmaster Hanzo.
He probably wouldn't have had a full katana, but fuck it, it's Kill Bill uniform. Nobody watches a Quentin Tarantino movie for realism.
That's true.
Yeah.
They watch it for blood
Blood and weird feet
and
shots.
explosions.
Have you guys ever seen the memes of like, where it says how much blood is in a normal human body and it shows like 4 quarts? And it says how much blood Quentin Tarantino thinks is a human body and it has a truck full of red liquid.
I saw a similar one for anime.
Yes.
But one of the things about that fight scene in that is in that same franchise, there was the best choreographed fight scene that has ever existed.
And the longest, too, in a different movie.
Oh really?
Yeah, the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight in episode 3 is actually one of the longest, like, one-on-one duel
I didn't know that.
things when it first came out. I don't know if it got beat yet, but...
I don't know. I didn't know that. I don't think that. You said that was episode 3.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that one.
I told you, I'll show you. I enjoy that scene. I enjoy that Anakin and
But-
Obi-Wan fight.
Not only, what's the big difference between the fight scene in episode 8 and episode 1? Ray Park.
An actual martial artist.
But
Yeah.
that's it. They
Yeah,
they had a guy who knew what he was doing lead.
Yeah.
And
Ewan
they trained
McGregor
for
and-
months before they actually filmed it.
He
But
could
they
be,
had you can train for months all you want. If you have 2 people who don't know what they're doing, you can train for 18 months.
You
and it's
still-
not gonna do any good. What
still
he
be
had
a good ring general.
What you had was you had a guy who knew what he was doing and 2 people who were willing to learn.
Yeah.
Which is-
I'm not tearing.
You need experience when you're doing
Yeah, I'm not tearing down Ewan McGregor and
Liam Neeson.
Liam
Liam Neeson
Neeson's
actually
work.
had sword training. He was actually hitting
yeah.
people with sword training by accident.
But
That's why his style is, if you
Yeah.
pay attention to Qui-Gon Jinn, his style is very, like, not flashy and very, like, sword.
It's very almost like he's not using a lightsaber.
And he's using a sword, and it's very, like,
That's why his main like pictures are him like
Yeah.
holding a legit sword.
and if you watch the fight, he's very simple with his attacks.
yeah, but
Pretty sure he's the reason there's only, but he's pretty much the reason why Form 1 is so basic, actually, I think.
probably.
Yeah.
But you know,
It
they
works.
had guys who knew what they were doing and willing to learn and put the effort in. And I want to say this is something that so many movies fail. You can characterize a character without a line of dialogue.
Mhm.
In that fight scene, there's a scene where the force fields close,
Mm-hmm.
and
Towards the end.
what?
Towards the end.
And there's a break in the action, and there's so much characterization in that.
I agree.
Because
Yeah.
that moment that force field happens, what immediately does Qui-Gon?
Yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn.
What does he do immediately?
Meditate.
Yeah, he sits down and starts
He,
meditating.
he calms himself down. He
Hey.
lowers his heart rate, thinks about what he's doing.
And it shows you exactly how his fighting style works. It's about focus, precision, and that's the whole philosophy behind the Jedi, right?
Mhm.
Control your emotions, focus. And what is Darth Maul doing? He's dancing. He's just like on edge. Just cannot wait to get back in the fight, because Sith fighting is about letting those emotions out, just taking all that and expelling it. And you get the entire Jedi Sith philosophy in 1 second without one line of dialogue.
And then in the back you had Obi-Wan trying to stay calm, but very concerned for getting in there to help.
That's why he's a.
There's
He was still a Padawan.
Apprentice.
Yeah, he was still a
still
Padawan at
Padawan.
that time.
That's why he's a Padawan. He's still learning.
I don't know if it was said by George Lucas or if it was a fan theory. I can't remember that part. But someone pointed out that during the fight after Qui-Gon dies, where Obi-Wan is winning the fight, but he's very just like, you can tell he's very emotional. During that scene, you can hear Qui-Gon yell out his name. And ever since then, he started calming down and was fighting like a Jedi and collecting himself. People point out that it seemed like he was getting pulled to the dark side during that fight. I think Qui-Gon brought him back to the light side, and that's what granted him his knighthood. Was he was able to control his emotions in order to fight after his master just got murdered in front of his eyes.
Makes sense.
I was
That's
like,
why he's able to
holy
do-
shit!
That's why he's able to do a badass Jedi fucking front flip, force grab lightsaber, and fucking chuck Darth Maul in half.
Hello there.
Have who here has seen the John Wick trilogy?
I've seen the
first.
Yeah, I've seen the first one.
I know enough about the other two.
And I've seen a lot of scenes from the other.
Oh man, there's a
There's
scene.
so many memes.
There's a scene at the end of John Wick 3 where one of the big assassins, one of the big guys, his two minions are fighting John Wick in this room, and the room's got glass walls, and they knock Wick through a glass wall, and he's on the back, and they both just extend their hands out to pick him back up, because they're having an honorable duel. So these two guys, and John Wick, who's trying to be killed by these guys, grabs them, pulls himself up. So it says so much about how much respect there is between the three. He's one that just kind of brushes himself off and kind of like, okay, and then the three of them get ready again for their fight. It just says so much about the way the respect they have for each other, and like.
There's a lot of like.
They could have just gone on top of him and pounded him.
like an honor amongst thieves things, but it's with assassins. Like they.
Maybe they would know that they got on top of him, they were dead.
Yeah.
Versus letting him get back to his feet and fight him on there for
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like, we're dead anyway, let's make it as honorable as ever.
Yeah.
Because do they die?
Oh yeah.
Well, yes, it's John Wick.
Now they die knowing they died in an honorable
He
fight.
killed 3 men with a pencil.
Yes, and now they know they died in an honorable fight.
Isn't there an actual martial art that's based on like just using random shit to kill people? I think there is.
There probably is somewhere.
There's some levels of that.
Probably some sort of offshoot Krav Maga.
There's some levels of that in Vienna war training, but not completely.
Or maybe the Spetsnaz going into the Spetsnaz being a knife.
Yeah.
Just blade. I mean,
It's like the idea behind the 6 principal weapons in Vienna is that you learn these weapons, you can pretty much pick up anything and just fight it as if it's one of these.
that makes sense.
What are the 6 weapons? Because there's spear, sword, staff, club, and sling. Right? Those were the 5 I knew.
Spear, sword.
Staff, club, sling.
But he said 6.
He probably has to go through the list himself. Or whatever.
It might have been only 5. But the whole idea is it does practice, it does let you set you up for pretty much any kind of weapon you'd encounter.
Unarmed, maybe? For brass knuckles?
Shield?
No.
It's not shield?
No, shield was definitely not one of them.
Okay.
because angry naked Irishman's probably not going to have a
Shield.
Anyway,
His body is the shield.
I'm trying to think of action pieces to talk about.
I feel like
Well,
Angry Naked Irishman is the barbarian.
we covered some of the major ones, but I think you wanted to talk about the Battle of Helm's Deep.
I didn't want to talk about the battle, but before I talk about the Battle of Helm's Deep, I want to talk about the two big ones in Infinity War and Endgame. And I'm going to compare them very unfavorably to Helm's Deep, and they're not necessarily bad. It's just to showcase how good Helm's Deep is. So the battle at the end of Endgame is fun, and it does what it needs to do. It's fan service. It's just, okay, we need to give 705 characters something to do.
Yeah.
So they give 705 characters something to
We
do.
need to make all these different characters that we've established badass in some way now.
So it is
'Cause
honestly,
they're all gonna disappear in a second.
it's all just a big. It's all just a big fight. It's a big-
Endgame was when they all came back.
Yeah, no, but I mean like after Endgame,
What
Okay,
happened?
fair enough.
they're all gonna be. They're all not
I
really
mean-
gonna be established.
Yeah, Black Widow,
Anymore.
after Endgame, Black Widow's gone, Captain America's gone, Iron Man's gone, Hulk is more or less gone.
And we're going into like a new phase of Marvel. so.
Unfortunately, Black Panther's gone. Rest in peace, Chadwick
Yeah.
Boseman.
Wakanda forever.
That's just sad. That is really
That
just
is.
sad.
I was so depressed.
They said they're not replacing Chadwick Boseman for Black Panther 2. They're not going to replace. They're not going to have a new actor play
That's good.
T'Challa. They're
That's
gonna,
good.
I think they said they're going to put Shuri in as the Black Panther.
That's good. That would make sense.
And
Yeah,
she'd been a Black Panther in the comics before anyway, so.
Yeah, so
There you go.
Most logical
Yeah.
path is that.
But
In order to honor him.
that fight scene, it's just a big mess of bodies. The only real shift is when Thanos' ship shows up, and that only lasts for about 30 seconds before the Deus Ex Machina shows up and smashes it.
Yeah.
That's what Captain Marvel was in that fight, was the Deus Ex Machina to get
Yeah.
rid of Thanos' air support.
I feel like energy manipulation is pretty powerful.
Well, the universe established that she's like top tier, so.
She's Superman.
Yeah, I mean,
She's
yeah,
Superman in a lot
she
of
was
universe.
Superman. I don't have a problem with that, and you
Well,
know.
no, she's the Captain Marvel of the Marvel universe.
Well, she doesn't transform.
Fuck.
She's just all power all the time. Whereas in Infinity War,
They're trying to way to switch it around.
I am. Continue our discussion. I'll get back to this.
whereas in Infinity War they do a better job by splitting the party into three, because you have on Titan, Iron Man, Spider-Man,
Guardians of the Galaxy, basically.
half of them, because it's only Drax and
Drax, Mantis, and Star-Lord.
Mantis isn't one of the Guardians.
Right.
But no, yeah, Drax Mantis, it is half the Guardians, because Nebula, not Nebula. Gamora is dead.
Root and Raccoon.
Spoiler alert.
Root and Raccoon are
off with Thor.
off of Thor.
Right. Was that Iron Man? But yeah, they're on Titan fighting Thanos, and then Thor, Groot, and Rocket are hanging out with Peter Dinklage making Stormbreaker, and that is kind of an action set piece.
What was Peter Dinklage's name?
One of
He
the
was a
dwarves.
dwarf.
He was the dwarf.
That was bigger than
I
everyone.
can't remember his name.
He
Oh,
used the name that was the dwarf that in mythology actually
Made Mjolnir.
made Mjolnir, so.
Yeah, well, you see, old mythologies, names like that were so hard, so I call his character Peter, and we're making myself feel better because
Yeah.
I can't say Mjolnir.
Yeah, I can barely say Mjolnir, and that's like pop culture at this point. But that's kind of an action set piece too, because there was like tension and the big thing where like Thor has to like hold open the thing so the laser can.
Melt.
Yeah. And then there's the Battle of Wakanda, which we were discussing earlier, that has basically the rest of the Avengers, where the Black Order is trying to get in to get Vision's Mind Stone. And
They showed the
Rest in
worst
peace,
tactics.
oh my gosh, it was so bad. First of all, just the question: where's the Wakandan Air Force?
We knew.
Oh my
Where
god!
the fuck was the Wakanda?
Yeah.
We knew they had them.
We knew
Yeah.
they had him because it was a huge plot point in the end action, and one of the action set pieces in Black Panther, where the CIA guy was piloting one of them.
Yeah, where is
And
it?
also, just that just reminded me just now, if they've got this drone technology, why the fuck are they sending ground forces ever? Shouldn't they just have thousands of people in a building with like robot drones?
No, because that'd be too much like the Guardians of the Galaxy alien people that they worked for in the second movie.
Yeah, because that's the
Yeah.
non-stupid thing.
I
to
just
do.
think it's funny because that is literally like the perfect thing.
The thing, I
They
thought that was
they had a
amazing.
whole fleet of ships go after the Guardians of the Galaxy.
And it felt
And
like
the
they were.
Guardians of the Galaxy won because they're the heroes, of
Yeah.
course.
But
And that planet took no casualties whatsoever.
yeah, it just felt like they were. It's like we had drones. They're piloted by Twitch streamers.
Basically,
We win.
when the guy
Diva
when
from
one guy was-
Overwatch, we win.
when the one guy was left, all the people around him like, come on.
Yeah, it's like they were freaking
Yeah.
Twitch streamers.
Earth just needs to have a big old thing going, oh yeah, this is his game, Overwatch. Just go play Overwatch for a little bit. And we just win because we get all the Bastion players and just like, jeez.
Have you ever read the book Ender's Game?
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I
They
read
do
it.
a similar thing.
They have a movie too. I don't know if the movie's any good.
I
But
haven't seen the movie.
I've seen.
like two
I haven't
movies.
seen or read the book.
Yeah, they recently rebooted
That's
it.
literally the plot of Ender's Game. Is this kid is like, they tell this kid he's running battle simulations, but it turns out that he's not running battle simulation. Well, he was running battle simulations. Then, when he was winning these simulations, they told him he was running a simulation, so he wasn't worried about like, oh no, these are real people who I'm sending to their death, and they were just having him command these armies and telling him it was a simulation.
And it would be kind of cool to just like pull up Command and Conquer and just have somebody play it, but it's just somebody dominating.
You know, you get once again like why don't Wakanda have more drone technology? They have the drones.
But then they would have won, and that would completely destroy the plot.
They would have won.
They were winning. Like we discussed earlier, sure, let them start winning, but when Thanos appears
Yeah.
in reality, Jim, oh, guess what?
I
That
agree.
shit that you're using to win doesn't exist no more.
But I mean, technically, I guess there are a lot of things to worry about. Not like in the movie wise, like the ability to make all them 3D models and get them on the screen correctly and get them animated.
Well,
That's going to cost a lot of money. And so,
I-
technically, I think it's
I saw no reason.
there's a good
well, okay.
excuse because it's
what
not
if-
like it's needed for the story. So
No, but
they
it-
just weren't there.
And it felt wasteful because like even if you want to do the thing where it's like doing 3D modeling like from a technical standpoint, you could still have the actors there and just say that the drones are modeled after the Wakandan soldiers.
Yeah.
But for real, where's the Wakandan Air Force during that fight?
It's like,
I
The
agree.
entire
I agree.
air support was War Machine and Falcon.
I saw no reason why when War Machine did his strafing run, why he couldn't have been accompanied by
One
Wakandan
there.
jets. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were like, we have Falcon and War Machine. Why are we sending our planes out?
Look, I love Falcon. I think Falcon's probably like one of my top 10 MCU characters.
He's just very underappreciated.
But his superpowers, he has a jetpack. I mean, come on, it's not like he's Thor here. His superpower is a jetpack. So come on, guys, it's
His
not like
main form of attack is basic military weaponry.
But yeah, so they opened that gate and the Chitauri, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, whatever.
I think those.
The aliens! Sorry, hold on. Aliens.
Yeah.
Are flooding in. They charge. I before we started this posed Devin with a similar scenario, and Devin came up with the tactic that you would use, which is create an arc and fire into what do they call it?
The bottleneck.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the
point.
choke point.
Choke point. Just fire into the choke point. And once again, it wouldn't last forever. That means forces would eventually overrun you, but you would have such a military advantage over that. And once again, once
When
the
you have active control over where the shield comes
opens,
open,
yeah.
You know, you can open different sections of your shield whenever you want.
And I found it really silly.
There's a
Though
lot
they
of-
had the digger wheels to go under it. I'm like, is this not a force bubble? They're like, oh, now we're back up. Oh yeah, we're pulling the force bubble back.
I feel like Wakanda would have a
Like
force field
deactivated,
around it
reactivated Beyond's like, oh, you gotta dig again.
Yeah.
Bastards.
Well, I don't know, because, like, what if there's, like, posts in the ground?
It might have been dependent on.
But see, here's the point I'm making is, that fight scene only has one ebb and flow.
now. Yeah.
They come through the force field, then there's a big brawl, and there's only one other change in pace before, two changes in pace, which is Thor shows up, Thanos
Yeah.
shows up.
Yeah.
There's no ebb and flow. And Avengers Earth Mightiest Hero animated series, and I wish they did something similar with this. At the end of Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Galactus' heralds are showing up. It's not Silver Surfer because it's the season finale, and you wouldn't want to have Silver Surfer show up and not have his redemption arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're fighting Thanos's, not the Galactus's heralds, and I can't remember who's fighting with Captain America, and he's like, "Aren't you worried?" And Captain America's, "No, can't you hear it?" He's like, "Hear what? The thunder?" And then Thor shows up. Like, I would have loved to have seen Bucky and Captain America fighting, and Captain America just smiles, and Bucky's like, "We're losing. What's going on?" He's like, "You don't hear it? Hear what? You don't hear thunder?" And then, boom! Thor shows up, and because
That would be cool.
Thor's a badass. Thor's a heavy hitter. Thor's a candidate.
Yeah.
So his
Thor's DPS.
well, he is
Yeah.
Thor's
Juggernaut.
inclusion changes the pace of the battle because he's that powerful. He is in himself worth a whole battalion of soldiers because he's just a powerhouse.
You'd be able to take out
Captain America's tank.
pretty much, yeah.
Well, let's be honest. These characters aren't all the same power level. Captain America's like level 12. Thor's like level 17, 18. I mean, realistically.
Yeah.
What happens that Cap is really good at strategy and command.
Yes.
Thor not so much.
Strategy.
Thor's
You
not
don't
that
need
like
to be. You don't need to be that good at strategy when you tend to punch things, they die.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's the only strategy you need.
Thor is, fittingly, a hammer. Smash. And
That's Hulk's line.
so with that, I have to explain why Helm's Deep is so good. First of all, there isn't the fight in Endgame is over a MacGuffin point. It's a thing that the two sides are fighting
Yeah.
over. Even in Endgame, the two sides are fighting over the Mind Stone. Mind
Yeah.
Stone?
No, not
Even in Infinity War.
In Infinity War.
Infinity
War.
in game. They're fighting over the entire
They're
gauntlet.
And
They're trying to save Vision.
And
trying to
even
make sure
in
Thanos doesn't
Infinity
get
War,
the
both
Mind Stone.
sides are fighting over the Mind Stone.
Mhm.
Yes.
But in Battle of Two Towers, they have opposing goals, but they're not fighting over the same thing. The Orcish army is fighting to destroy
What's a legitimate siege?
the human
Siege.
kingdoms.
Yeah.
Whatever that human kingdom is.
Oh,
Rohan.
Rohan. Because once they win this fight, Rohan is off the field.
Mhm.
Sauron
That's
has
an entire faction they needed to get rid of.
Sauron has wiped the Rohan out.
And once Rohan's gone, there's only Gondor.
Yes.
So
Condor's what?
Under calls for
So they are working to eliminate Helm's Deep. See, what makes Helm's Deep so good is Gandalf. What does Gandalf tell them before the siege of Helm's Deep?
look for me on the dawn of the third day or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was in the movie the one day. I think the movie all took place in one night.
It's something.
So-
Pacing.
In the
Third hour.
book,
because Gandalf is a wizard, it's not good enough for me to be like 7 a.m. give or take 15 minutes. I
Yeah.
got your back. You gotta give me till 7 a.m.
Yeah.
because wizards
But
can't.
they know help's coming.
Yes, they know generally when help is coming
Yeah.
at sunrise. So they aren't looking to beat the Orcish army. They're looking to last 3 days in the book. I think it was only 1 day in the movie. But either
Yeah.
way, they're looking to last.
objective survive.
Yes.
It might have been 3 days in the movie, but the fight only lasted one night because the orcs were actually able to attack
How they paced it, yeah.
on the third night.
Okay, but
I can't remember. Last time I watched this, all 3
It has
movies
been a long
was
time.
when it first came out.
It's been a
'Cause
while
I was
for
a
me,
kid, and when I was a kid, all I saw was a walking simulator.
It hasn't been that long for me, but it's been a while.
But so what you have, so the fight ebbs and flows. So you start with the two armies on one side. The orcs have this definitive advantage in numbers, and then the one guy lets an arrow loose. The
Numbers
first-
and power, because Helm's Deep is mostly just citizens.
Yeah.
And they gave weapons and armor to.
Yeah.
And see,
Oh, shit.
that's one of the
I
other
didn't know
things.
that.
That's when they have that whole scene where everybody's running towards down the stairs.
Some
and
of the
everything,
Too many
they're
of these
just handing
soldiers
weapons
have
to
Seen
people.
too many winters or too few.
Like I said,
Yeah,
last
that's
time I
something.
saw this movie, I was a kid.
And
I didn't pick up
it's
on the adult
literally
shit.
Old men and then young
Those
kids.
And
They're just giving weapons and armor to.
I
They're putting,
thought it was like a mail system. They were going to give it to.
they're putting like
soldiers.
they're throwing chainmail over children, handing them swords and shields.
I thought it was for protection. They got inside so they don't die.
No, they're at the wall,
Yeah.
at the door.
It's like, you're soldiers
Fuck.
now.
They're like, you guys are gonna wait behind this door. If they get through, you the one. It's you or your family. That's your
But
choice.
that, like I said, one of the lines in the movie, was it Eric Horn who said that?
The Winters line was a conversation between Gimli and
I found President.
Legolas.
Like Gimli and Legolas, where he's like, too many of these soldiers have seen too many winters.
And Legolas was, or too few.
So I like it. So we've got this. You know, one of the things is we also now have this understanding of who's fighting. That we don't have soldiers fighting. We have children and senior citizens fighting.
All right, I'm glad the adults were able to figure that out. The kids did not. I did not.
And
Though honestly, those movies are meant for.
Yeah, what
They
are
weren't
you
really
watching
for children.
for, Kenny?
They
Well,
were,
me, you were children when they first came out. You fell in love with it.
I know, but I'm just saying it's not. There's a lot of exposition that kids would just not get.
Well, now you
They
understand
weren't
why I
made
think
for.
it was a walking
I'm just
simulator
saying
growing
they
up.
weren't made for children to get them.
I don't care for the movies because I think that they're 3 hours for each is too much. I think they could have done.
Yeah.
I think they could have done the movies
They're
in
very
2
long.
apiece. But much like Episode 1 movie, I don't care for because I don't give a fuck about
I think they
space
tried
politics.
to.
They have a fucking perfect scene that I can explain exactly how this just works so well. Because they fight, and the orcs come, and they hit the wall, and there's not much they can do. They've stopped, and they throw them ladders up that wall. Okay, so now the fight goes from Rohan to the orcs. So they climb up the ladders, and then they're pushing the ladders down. Okay, the Ebb goes back to Rohan, and then they move up that side wall. Okay, so the wave goes back to the orcs, and then Legolas does his little ninja shield sled thing and takes out those orcs.
It's all about momentum. The momentum of
It
the fight
shifts
changes.
back and
It
forth,
shifts.
and that's something that a lot of these big fight scenes, especially in the Marvel movies, don't have. Is the fight doesn't flow.
They could learn from watching a lot of really good wrestling matches.
Yeah,
Because
That's
you,
true,
you,
too.
you got the pacing. It's like,
and then the orc blows a hole in the wall, and then like the whole time you're thinking like, okay, you just got another hour, you just got another hour, you just got another hour, and the riders are gonna come and save the day. But like, you are legitimately worried that you're probably not worried that the 3 main characters are gonna lose, which is another advantage is they don't have 21 main characters to focus on. We
Yeah.
have Legolas, Gimli, and
Aragorn.
Aragorn,
Yeah.
and that's all we have
Where
to
the
focus
hobbits
on.
at?
They're
They
just
were-
walking.
They were walking toward Mount Doom. Because the Lord of the Rings narrative kind of splits in two, where Samwise and Frodo are heading around to Mount
They're
Doom.
doing the main missions.
And then,
Oh, so the hobbits were doing the missions while the side characters were.
and one of the big things
Are
the
doing
side
the
characters were doing was
castle
keeping the armies of Sauron busy while the hobbits did the stealth mission.
That makes sense.
Because if those orcish armies converged on Frodo, they'd be fucked.
Yeah.
So you keep the
No offense to Frodo and Sam, they ain't taking on any works.
well, they're effectively rogues. That's why
they effectively. I don't
I
remember
know-
those guys getting in a fight after.
they don't get into very many.
There
There's the one with
is
I
sheep,
know
one
sheep
scene where Sam and
Shelob,
Frodo
the
the spider.
attack. Yeah, there's the Shelob scene where Sam fights.
So how'd they get separated from Pippin?
Oh, that
Right?
was
They,
also during the
Yeah.
split in Fellowship.
Because
Because Frodo and Sam wound up going on the boat, the little canoe, and going down the river. And
Yeah, at the end of Fellowship,
'Cause
Pippin
they-
and Merry basically let the orcs catch them so Sam and Frodo could get away.
Don't you
Yeah.
know
Oh,
you
yeah.
never split the
I remember that now.
yeah.
yeah,
Like I said, it's been years.
Yeah,
and
I didn't
it's
remember when they split either. so.
it's not as good as the Battle of Helm's Deep, but the Battle of Minas Tirith, the Gondor fight.
Oh yeah.
That's really good too. They also did a bit of pacing, not as well, but
Well, nothing's paced as well as Helm's Deep.
That's right.
So I mean,
it's like you were
That's the
starting
point
to.
of the conversation.
It's like you still had some back and forth in order to try to breach the walls. They started gathering like rubble from the village outside and like flinging catapults. You had the war elephants came in.
yeah.
Just when things started to be look like they were going to be.
Still only counts as one.
And just when they're bringing out the demon battering ram that they only showed and didn't really talk about that much.
That was probably my favorite thing in the entire movie was Gimli and Legolas.
Yeah. But and just when it started to look,
Squaggles.
and just when it started to look, its most
Legolas.
darkest. That's when Legolas got off the boat. Aragorn got off the boat with the Ghost Army.
Yeah.
Cleared the beach.
Hail to the king.
There was a lot of Deus Ex Machina wins in.
There was.
However, they were all foreshadowed. Before the fight even started, Gandalf and Helm's Deep said, "I will have the riders in 3 days."
I'm
And
gonna help.
we did see Aragorn make his pact with the Ghost Riders.
So Aragorn purposely left to go do these things
And
so that he could have that.
Although they
at
could
the final.
probably have finished up the Battle of Minas Tirith with the ghosts, he kept his word after they cleared the beach. Basically cleared the beach there. It was like
They were free.
it was like Aragorn's like, I release you from your service. You did serve.
Yeah.
It's like you're free to go.
See, and that goes back to what I'm actually going to go to wrestling for this. How much storytelling how much character narrative you can give without actually having to do anything. So Wrestlemania 3,
Mm-hmm.
neither of these guys are good wrestlers, but this is just so great. Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
So Andre the Giant had never
Wasn't it the irresistible force meeting the immovable object?
Andre the
Wasn't
Giant
that
had never been lifted in his career.
No one could lift him.
In fact, beforehand, there was a wrestler named Big John Studd. Big John Studd was this big tank of a man, and he said, "I can body slam anyone, and no one can body slam me." So he had a $25,000 body slam challenge, which
That
Andre
happens?
just.
It's like, yeah, me
Andre-
big Frenchman.
So Andre not only has never been lifted, he literally won 25,000. Well, he didn't. He threw it to the audience because he was the face at the time. $25,000 says no one can pick him off his feet. So Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant are wrestling. Hogan grabs Andre the Giant.
Can't do
Nothing. Andre throws him off. So you're like, oh, well, what the hell's Hogan gonna do? So Hogan does his strike. Second time,
I can't believe he's still trying to do this.
picks him up, gets him off his feet, falls back. Andre falls on top of him. So you got this hope spot. It's like, holy crap! Like, yeah, he failed, but Hogan
did
got
get him off the
Andre
ground.
off his feet.
Yeah.
So the third time comes, he gets Andre off the ropes.
And does it.
And like, it's just so insane because he didn't just pick Andre up. It wasn't just lifting up. He had failed twice, but each time he got a little closer. So when he finally got Andre and threw him down,
It was great storytelling.
it was like,
It was
oh my
you're right.
gosh, like that's when people talk about storytelling in wrestling. They're not talking about promos. They're talking about stuff like that. I think it was WrestleMania 10 where Bret Hart wrestled Owen Hart. And so, for
Maybe.
example, and the two of them are wrestling, and Bret Hart goes for an arm wrist lock, and as soon as he gets Owen shifts and counters and puts Bret in his own wrist lock, but before he can lock it in, Owen counters, back and forth, back and forth. These two brothers who literally grew up together just cannot get one up on another. And then there's a scene, Owen Hart falls and he holds his leg. Oh, my leg hurts. Yeah, I injured my leg, and so the referee comes over. He's like, ha, sucker, and he kicks Brett. Let's see, Brett knows Owen. Ha, got your foot. So Owen immediately then, I knew you were going to know what I was going to do. Immediately catches him with the enziguri. And it looked like these two guys just knew each other so well. And that what the fight didn't end on a pile driver, and it didn't end on a sharpshooter. Bret Hart went to do a victory roll, and Owen just collapsed. 1, 2, 3, just the most devastating move in all of wrestling, the surprise cradle.
I have to, just as a little side note, this moving, I was like, this last year was huge in wrestling for those surprise roll-ups and pin situations like that. People were winning off those like crazy last year. I don't know what the deal was.
2020.
Probably. It was like you weren't really competing in front of a crowd anymore, you know.
Although with the Hulk Hogan Andre the Giant, I want to know how hard Hulk Hogan had to train to be able to do that.
Hulk Hogan,
He injured himself.
He did permanent damage to his back.
He did it, but
Well, that
he hurt
makes
himself.
sense.
Yeah.
I mean, jeez.
He tore the fuck out of his back to pick Andre the Giant up. Like,
Especially in that way. Like
yeah.
out here
That was
and
his
trying
last.
to.
That was his last wrestling match.
And he kept wrestling for a while.
Definitely
after
was
that,
not.
But he was never really the same.
No, it messed him up bad, but he
He went out with a bang.
he made something that people talk about some like 30-some years later.
That kind of reminds me of, I saw a post online about, shit. It's a really famous guitarist of a band. I think it was Slash. Like someone that is kind of like Slash. He was hanging out with Elvis Presley, and Elvis was like, hey, let me show you my karate skills. And handed him a loaded gun. Pointing at him, and he admits that when he had a gun pointing at him, he had two thoughts in his head, like the whole angel and devil thing. Come on, man, shoot Elvis. You're going to be the most... You'll go to jail, but you'll become like a legend for shooting and killing Elvis. And he's like, his other thought was, no, Elvis is pretty cool. Shoot him in the shoulder so he survives it, but you still are confident. You shot Elvis. Come on, you're not going to do anything bigger than that.
I love how
and
they
before he could think both those thoughts, Elvis had kicked the gun out of his hand and pinned him.
I just love that the good conscience was still shoot him.
Yeah.
But
Not as bad.
Kill Elvis or maim Elvis.
That sounds like something Slash would do.
It was someone. If it wasn't Slash, it was a guitarist like Slash, like
Yeah.
a band like Guns N' Roses.
Kiss.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
it was
Amazing.
Kiss.
Kiss one too.
I would remember if it was
Yeah.
Kiss.
That's
Honestly.
just funny though.
hold on, let me show you my karate skills. Hold on.
Apparently, Elvis has karate skills. Cause
Oh yeah, he learned karate.
that's what I learned. That's surprising because I don't remember who he did it to.
He had like a second or third degree black belt.
But I can see the person who made those thoughts making those thoughts. I did not expect Elvis to actually be able to just like and pin him.
Oh, you scared a cat.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kate. I didn't mean to scare you.
But yeah, well, that's his thing. Is you can either go down in infamy, or you can become famous, like Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant, or you can go down in infamy, like Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan.
I don't know that. I never watched
Apparently,
wrestling.
Caleb does. I know Josh does.
I know of it.
Basically,
Was
what
that the
happened?
moment he lost his smile?
No.
Okay.
That was, I can't remember that one. I think that was Razor Ramon?
Yeah, man.
No. So, Hulk Hogan come out of
Point
retirement.
is, Shawn Michaels is a little bitch.
Yeah, but so is Hulk Hogan. Actually, the point of this story is Hulk Hogan is as much of a...
Yeah.
What happened was, Hulk Hogan came out of retirement, he was doing a run at WWE, and Shawn Michaels, they were going to have a face versus face fight, you know, two good guys fighting. Hulk Hogan didn't like that because... Speculation, the most likely reason is because he thought Shawn Michaels was going to be more popular than him. So Shawn Michaels goes heel, thinking they're going to have 2 out of 3 fight, and it was going to be Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan. Well, like last minute, Hulk Hogan ducked out and said, nope, I'm only doing 1 fight. So during the fight, Shawn Michaels is overselling everything. Like, Hulk Hogan whips Shawn Michaels into the ring, and he just like flips over it. Like every punch Hulk Hogan throws, he's like backflipping and just twisting.
It's like Hulk's kicking his butt with this over him.
Like right before Hulk Hogan goes to do his leg drop, he always does a big boot. So he does a big boot, and Shawn Michaels like flops down, stands up, does like a comic Tom and Jerry spin, and then falls down. Like just look it up. It is so bad. He just tanked it because he was mad that Hulk Hogan pulled politics on him.
He started to get famous for the overselling though. After that,
I know that when they did all the Degeneration X stuff, that Shawn Michaels was really good at doing just ridiculous overselling of bullshit.
But like this was next level selling. This was bad. Like if anyone had a doubt in their mind wrestling was real, that would end it right there. That would immediately kill any idea. Or like I said, you can be Helm's Deep, or you can be that throne room fighting fucking.
I think it is called the throne room fight. That's how everyone.
At least that's how everyone describes it. Is the throne room fight.
The other one I remember, I saw a fight scene of the lightsaber fight between Rey and Kylo Ren in the first.
In the woods. When they're in the woods.
Episode 7.
Probably in the woods.
In the woods, yeah.
Yeah.
7.
And oh my gosh, neither of them look like they are like. Neither of them look like they have ever held a weapon in their life.
They also have a fight scene in 9 too.
But I haven't seen that one. I said, and like.
It's probably the best out of the 3.
it was better, yeah.
Once again, there's no weight to it. They're just kind of like. There's a scene where he's like got her, and he's like on the edge of like a cliff or something. He's like pushing against her, but it doesn't look like he's pushing against her. It looks like he's doing this, and she's like, if she closed her eyes and put her hand on her head, her body language would be identical to a character swooning. She's like, no, oh, and I'm like, oh man. And I'm not trying to trash Daisy Ridley. It's not her fault. It's the stunt choreographer's fault for not fucking telling her what to do. Because, you know, I'm not on this bandwagon of trashing Daisy Ridley, because I'm sure she did the best. You can only do so...
Honestly, her acting in the movies were good. It's just the writing in the movies
Possibly.
were really bad.
She's done other things I know people have liked. So once again, I'm not putting... who played Kylo Ren? What's his name?
Adam Driver.
I'm not trashing Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley. If you've never picked up a sword before and are expecting to do a sword fight, the stunt choreographer's job is to make it look realistic.
Adam Driver was a Marine.
That doesn't mean he's ever held a sword.
That's true. You don't hold sword. Doesn't mean.
He held a ceremonial sword.
That doesn't mean he's
he
ever
knows how to
held
use it.
What's different?
Doesn't hold up a sword and go like this all day. Doesn't mean I'm gonna be able to use it.
I have the power.
Exactly.
Oh, if they
Sword of
gave,
Omens, give me sight beyond sight. I could do that all day.
if they gave him a lay blaster rifle in the movie, he would probably look just fine. And when it comes to sword fight choreography, he looked like shit. In that throne room fight, he just kind of got his little lightsaber, and like the lightsabers change distance because there's no physical object they're holding. They're holding a handle. So like if I'm supposed to swing at Dale and miss, whoever's in charge of doing the CG is gonna have to adjust it to Dale's distance.
I miss how they did it in the when they filmed the original trilogy.
Using plastic swords.
Yeah, they
Plastic
actually had a
stuff.
thing.
The handles are real, but they had like a...
You had a plastic tube.
They actually had a little stick that they colored over.
One, if I'm pushing, if me and
Well,
Josh are
it had
pushing against
reflective
each other-
tape on it, so it also did have a little bit of light coming off
that was
of it.
the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Not pretty cool.
they had a physical thing they were holding.
Yeah.
So if they're pushing against each other, they are pushing against each other. They're not
You can actually do that.
pretending. And the other thing is, if I have a handle, I don't have a good idea of how long the sword is. If I've got an actual prop that's got length, I can distance myself with the person I'm choreographing with to understand. Whereas versus a handle, I mean, what sense of space do you have if you're not holding something that's got space? And that definitely translates to people watching. I mean,
I definitely believe they don't put a lot. I don't think they put a lot of time and effort into the fight scenes in the sequel trilogy.
people who like the sequel trilogy never defend the fight scenes.
It's not the fight scenes that make it; it's the story.
If people,
I like the story of the prequel.
If people- like I said, I haven't seen it. If I haven't seen it, if people like Rey's arc fine. Like Ray's Hard.
I liked it.
Like it, don't like it, I don't give a
I
fuck.
can't even say I liked the story. I don't like what they did with the characters. The characters lost every single one of their. Did you not know that's what it was?
No, I thought it was like this the entire way
No,
through.
the flamingos.
I thought it was like
That's
this.
funny.
No, flamingos.
I'm putting it back on then.
But I really like.
Flamingo!
Flamingo!
I really like the story, and I wish they would have kept up with all the things they set the characters up to be, and they didn't do that. And
I
it's
enjoyed the
extremely
story in 7 and what they had set up.
Yes.
Like he did. But 8 and 9, they kind of just threw everyone who wasn't Ray or Kylo away.
funny. Yeah.
Well,
Even Finn. I was actually really interested
I
in
was. He was my favorite
Finn was
character.
gonna have a fantastic arc, and they just threw him to the side. They're like, nah,
He's
don't worry
my
about him.
favorite fucking character. I'm so pissed off about
The
that.
whole idea of the former stormtrooper
Becoming Jedi?
clone, not necessarily becoming Jedi, but just the redemption thing and understanding, trying to get an understanding of who you really are.
Yeah.
Because he started as basically a clone with hardly any identity, because he was,
Yeah.
Well,
But they also kind of hinted at Jedi with the lightsaber fight.
They hit it
Force
at
adept at least.
possible.
But-
Yeah.
to kind of go back to the actual topic, for example, this is so Rey was a scavenger.
Yeah.
So during that fight with Kylo, instead of just being a generic sword fight where she beat him somehow,
Yeah.
which
You
there's
mean
no,
you want the first one?
yeah,
There's
there's no fucking way.
there's a thing.
Yeah.
Kylo took a shot from Chewie's bowcaster. before
Apparently
that
he
fight.
was injured.
He took a shot in the chest from Chewie's bowcaster before that fight.
Okay, however, here's the point I'm making. She was a scavenger, right?
That entire movie,
Yeah.
we're also showing off how the Bowcaster was pulling people up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
There's a whole thing about how people didn't like the fact that she beat Kylo in that, and then there was another thing about people explaining how that would be the case, and they were like, first of all, you gotta think he's been fighting the whole time. He took a shot to the side from Chewie's bowcaster, which is known to obliterate people.
I'm sorry, but that's my favorite scene in the entire thing of Chewie watching his best friend get killed by his own son and going, "Fuck you, bitch!" Not, "Oh, that's his son, and I should protect him." No, it was, "Fuck you!" I'm gonna get Chewie. Get it.
But the point I'm making is,
Yes.
what if in that fight scene, since she's a scavenger, she's a survivor, what if, instead of her just beating Kylo Ren, she's using the Force powers to manipulate the field to her advantage, using Force powers to set traps for him. So, like, you know, he attacks her,
Which
and he gets
wouldn't-
his foot caught in something, which distracts him enough
And that
she can
wasn't
get a couple.
Yeah, and that wouldn't help him when he was already fighting injury and fatigue.
But
And
it
it's
would,
already,
and it would say something to her character, saying that she's not going to fight like every other character in the series. She's a scavenger. That how she learned to survive is traps and environment. So she's going to use traps and environment to beat these people. Like in the book, The Princess Bride, when
Yes.
Inigo Montoya's dueling with Dread Pirates Roberts, they're dueling, and Dread Pirates Roberts specifically brings Inigo Montoya into like a corridor where his fighting style doesn't work, because Inigo Montoya's got a broader fighting style. So with that limited movement, his fencing moves aren't. He can't fight the style he wants. That's how Dread Pirates Roberts, how Wesley beats Inigo Montoya in the book. He brings him into a situation where his fighting style is useless. So he beats him that way instead of just beating him.
Basically, real life debuffs him.
Yeah. But I think the point's been mostly made that you need to tell character stories when you do fight scenes and not just big fight scenes.
And don't get rid of props.
Don't get rid of props.
Props up.
Yes, physical will always beat CGI.
Props to props. This conversation is all brought to you by the books at the local library.
Also remember ebb and flow attention.
Yes.
You can
Back and forth. Don't just make it a completely one-sided thing.
or don't just make it a mass. Create movement back and forth. Let one side win, then push back and forward and back and forward and back and forward. Those are my three secrets to setting up good fight scenes.
I cannot remember any of them. I don't watch that many movies.
I do. I watch
All my fight scenes that popped in my head were like anime and.
Those were perfect. Those two, like I said, a perfect example of the ebb and flow is Superman versus Darkseid at the end of Justice League. Darkseid's just beating the shit out of Superman. So Superman does the very infamous World of Cardboard speech, beats the shit out of Darkseid, and then he asks Darkseid if he's had enough, and then Darkseid zaps Superman, and then Luthor shows up to
Negotiate a deal.
yes.
Yeah.
And it actually ends up being Luthor who beats Darkseid at the end.
Anyway, I think that's about.
Yeah, that's probably enough.
So,
So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Till then, so long, everyone.
I found glasses.